Hi everybody, Steve Griffiths here, developer of the MTPredictor software program. In today's MTPredictor video, I'd like to follow up at some of the setups I was looking at in yesterday's training webinar for MTPredictor customers. For standard MTPredictor traders, the STF was black to start with, so you would have actually considered this DP buy setup into that first setup there with the history triangle where you've stopped and reversed. You'd have made about 1R profits on that. So I'll just put plus 1R. You'd then have come in for a sell setup here, which would have just taken you in and stopped you out for a minus 1R. Guess what, people? Losses can, will, and do happen. This is a fact of trading, and this is why we use position sizing, where we vary the number of lots, contracts, or shares, in this case to keep our initial risk less than 2% on a sample $20,000 account. This means that when you lose for one risk unit. So that would have been a 1R loss. You'd have then come in for another TS4 sell setup, which we were looking at at the time. And let's take the worst case scenario here, because it had gone past the 100% initial risk level. And this little wiggle down here was actually a minor ABC, so you may well have brought your stop to break even. But let's take a worst case scenario and assume that it would have been stopped out just at that high there, which would have been very frustrating, for another minus 1R loss. You come down towards the end of the day, there was a TS2 sell setup in the direction of a red SDF, and that would have made plus 2.3R profit there at the first target. So let's add that all up. So plus 1 minus 1 is 0, minus 1 plus 2 is plus 1, so it's plus 1.3R. So even though we had a bit of a frustrating time here with a couple of losing trades, you would have actually made money at plus 1.3R for the day. Not bad, but we can do better once we get a more experienced eye on this, which I'll have a look at in a minute. If you'd been trading all the USE minis, the NQ would have had a standard TS3 sell setup there. These buy setups were against a red STF, so you'd have avoided these. So the only trade setup you'd have had here would have been your short. TS3 sell there into the first target for a very nice plus 5.3R profit, so that would have been a very nice trade there. On the YM, that was the same losing trade on the ES. This TS4 again was against a red STF, so would have been avoided, so there was nothing to do there. The Russell Index had a couple of losing trades at the same time as our ES, then a TS4 sell a bit later on here into the first target for plus 3.5R. The STF was actually strong at this point because we've gone beyond its strength barrier, strength line there. So you would use the ATR stop, so that would actually trail down to there for an almost 7.1R profit. So very, very good trades there on other markets outside the ES yesterday. But what I want to look at is focusing again on the ES is what you'd have done by looking at this with a more advanced eye. This is what we teach in our training webinars. I was looking at the VS setup, or the volume spike setup, in our webinar yesterday, when we look at a high volume spike as denoted by our red bar on our volume, where the market moved beyond a prior important high, which it did on this bar here when we stopped out, and then we wanted to see if we reversed at our DP level, and it just about did that there. It was probably shy by by one tick. So it almost did that there before reversing over. So that was a good example of how the professionals were stepping in here and then moving the market to the short side, and that was just before the market carried on down sharply. Let's put this all into context into the large degree trend by going to the higher time frame chart. So for this it would be our 15-minute chart. If we look at this, we'd have had a DP resistance area on from this pivot, you can see, which came up and nailed the high of the day before on the 16th. Therefore, when this was all going on, this was against the large degree downtrend. Can you all see that? That there's the high. The market would have been going down into probably the DP off the prior low here. So while all these buy setups, sell setups were coming in here, the large degree trend was down. More importantly, the large degree trend here was a potential wave 2 or B. The market then declined down here later on in the day in a potential wave 3 kind of swing. So on the 15-minute chart, this was coming in to be what we call a potential holy grail trade setup. In other words, you'd be looking to the short side, but not just for a short swing, the short side for a swing down into this DP support zone down here. So you'd be looking for a big move on the downside. The market did pause ever so slightly at this particular level on this DP from here, but if we go down to the 3-minute chart, you can see there were no buy setups at that level anyway. So it rolled over and kept going through. So how would you have traded this? Well, it would have been nice if we had another sell setup here on the 3-minute chart, because then you could have gone short again and then looked to go take the market down as it went down there very nicely. But there was on the 5-minute. This is where we have your scanner running. This is why we have our scanner here with our 3, 5 and 15-minute time intervals showing sell setups coming in on our scanner. But you can see here that as of the high, when we just stopped out from our 3-minute sell setup, we then got a TS3 sell. Right mouse click, place the analysis on. The market went down to the first target there where there was a nice plus 3.9R. But as I'd already said, because the larger trend we're anticipating it to go down into this 15-minute DP down here, we'd have been treating this as a holy grail trade setup. So we'd have actually had our target down here at our typical wave 3 WPT, which would have been an absolute massive profit. The market didn't get there. It would have actually stopped you out on close, but nevertheless that would have been a lovely plus 7.3R profit. So that is what you'd have done as the more advanced trader, is looking to then use the 5-minute chart to then still be on the short side to take that TS3 sell. If you'd again been more experienced, what you may well have done is, as the market came down here, if I right mouse click at this low here, do Elliott wave intermediate, can you see how the market came off this TS3 high here in a lovely 5-wave sequence, hitting our minimum wave 5 WPT, in other words the first area where wave 5 was likely to end. As we're getting close towards the end of the day, you may well have decided, well, I'm not that far off our main target down here. I'm sitting on plus 9R profit, which is a very nice trade indeed. Therefore I'll start to trail just above the 1-bar highs. There was also a VS setup coming in at that low there as well, so that was another indication that the professionals were stepping in and then starting to move the market higher. That's even more obvious when you come down to our 3-minute chart, in that there was actually a DP buy, but there's your high volume VSA spike. If we do our decision point off the low, can you see how that came in perfectly at our DP support zone? The next bar then reversed back up again, so that told you professionals were stepping in and looking to move the market higher, or at very least looking to take profits from their recent shortfall down there. All of that was coming in at a 5-wave sequence as well, so the professional trader or the more experienced MTPredictor trader would have seen that as a potential end to the decline, and looking to not necessarily go long, but looking for reasons to bring their stop a lot closer on the 5-minute short trade down here. So as you can see, once you become more experienced with MTPredictor, you can use its tools to uncover and manage some great trades there, particularly that TS3 sell on the 5-minute chart, which produced a lovely 9R profit. That was really nice, because it would have been slightly frustrating if you'd just been following the 3-minute chart. Just clear this all off. We're looking for short trades and then had 1, 2 losing trades and then missed out for the rest of the day, apart from maybe that TS2 sell setup later on. But this is why it's good to follow the 5-minute as well as the 3-minute, because this can very often happen when you just get clipped out like this on the 3-minute chart and your large trend is still unchanged. Then you can get a setup in that same direction, as we can see here, that then can allow you to take a big move like that. So a good day for MTPredictor if you become one of our more experienced users, and particularly couching your 3 and 5 minute trade setups in the context of the higher time frame chart, particularly the DP off that last pivot, nailing the high. Market then looking to decline down to the DP off this low right the way down here. Therefore the larger trend will be down, be looking for short trades, and as such that 5-minute TS3 sell was a good one to take. The result, either a plus 7R profit on the close, or near a 9R profit as you came in, trading at 1 bar highs as it hit the minimum wave 5 WPT. So a good example of how to use the tools in the MTPredictor software program on a day like yesterday, which was the 17th of May on the USE minis.